The massive loss of lives in Turkey and Syria following the February 7 earthquake has shed light on the lack of compliance to construction standards as rescuers continue to scour through the concrete debris to save as many remaining lives as possible. This reminds Nepalese of the unfortunate 2015 earthquake that took the lives of over 8,000. But 7 years since, the government monitoring on construction compliances has remained feeble and preparations for any natural calamity has still been deemed weak. Good evening, I'm Sarah Sapsanama. Let's begin with the headlines of the hour. New academic session has begun, but students in Karnali province still deprived of textbooks. Government yet to decide on who to contract for printing the books. Government's preparedness for natural disasters still feeble. Apathy towards compliance of construction standards continues. UN Top 8 Chief calls on the international community to step forward to heal the trauma of devastating earthquakes in Turkey and Syria. Donations and aid supplies slowly trickle amid considerable concern. And Kushal Bhurtel and Karan Casey shine as Nepal defeats Namibia by 2 wickets in the ICC World Cricket League 2 series. The new academic session has begun from today in the mountainous districts of Karnali province. The government had directed to begin the academic session from the month of Baisakh of Nepali calendar. However, 5 districts in Karnali have already started the new academic session. The books for the new academic session have not been provided as they have yet to start printing the textbooks. The government that has yet to provide the responsibility of printing textbooks for grades 1 to 5, for which was announced to be provided to the private sector. The students and their guardians have become uncertain about the effectiveness of the new academic session amid delay in printing of the books. The new academic session has begun in Karnali's Humla, Jumla, Dolpa, Manang and Mustang from today. However, the students are uncertain when they will receive their textbooks. The government had announced of giving the responsibility of the textbooks of grades 1 to 5 to the private sector. However, it has not begun the procedure. Meanwhile, Janak Education Material Center, which has already completed printing textbooks of grade 6 to 10, has yet to distribute them. Privately printed books are easily available in the market. Application has been filed for those books to be listed at the Curriculum Development Board. However, a decision has yet to be made. Textbooks of the ongoing academic session, which is about to conclude soon, have not reached in Patstar, among other several districts. Likewise, students of grades 9 and 10 have not received textbooks, even though the SEE is nearing. A number of complaints were filed regarding the declining education standard in the country, while the government's failure in providing textbooks on time has largely affected the students' learning outcomes. In this context, in our Public Voice segment, today we've asked people in several provinces why have students not received textbooks despite their academic sessions kicking off. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
जनक शिक्षा सामग्री केन्द्रको व्यवस्थापकीय कमजोरी
केन्द्रीय सरकारले शिक्षामा सही नीति निर्देश नगर्नु
यसको कमजोरी चाहिँ विशेष गरी सरकारलाई नै दिनुपर्ने हुन्छ
विद्यालय पनि संवेदनशील नहुनु र सरकार पनि संवेदनशील नहुनु
संघीय सरकारले प्रदेश सरकारले पनि आवश्यक मात्रामा त्यसको चाहिँ समन्वय गर्नुपर्छ
अलि डिले नै भयो भने के फरक पर्छ भने एउटा जुन मानसिकताको साथ मान्छे बाँचिरहेछ मेन मुख्य रिजन त्यही हो
सरकारको नै लापरवाही भन्छु
राज्यले मतपत्र छाप्नलाई जति प्राथमिकता दिन्छ त्यति चाहिँ पाठ्यपुस्तक छाप्नको लागि प्राथमिकता नदिएको कारणले नै यस्तो भएको
कुन बेलामा पुस्तक छाप्ने कुन बेलामा चाहिँ ढुवानी गर्ने भन्ने नै शैक्षिक योजना राम्रो छैन
The massive earthquake that struck Turkey and Syria has claimed the lives of over 35,000 and has reminded Nepalese living in those two countries of the 2015 earthquake in Nepal. The number of deaths has also shed light on the negligence in construction of the infrastructures that caved in. Over 6,200 buildings have collapsed, while the search and rescue of people buried in the rubble is still ongoing 1 week past the unfortunate day. Rescuers say they are struggling to remove concrete debris of high buildings. Meanwhile, the Turkish government has taken into custody several contractors who are responsible for the construction of these buildings, citing lack of compliance with the construction code of conduct that resulted in the massive losses. In the aftermath of the 2015 earthquake, Nepal revised a few of its policies to avoid catastrophic impacts. However, implementation has remained feeble. The local government also have yet to monitor if buildings constructed post-earthquake are in compliance with safety standards. Welcome back. Valentine's Day, also called Saint Valentine's Day or the Feast of Saint Valentine, is being celebrated amid much fervor across the world today. It originated as Christian Feast Day, honoring one or two early Christian martyrs named Saint Valentine, and through later folk traditions has become a significant cultural, religious and commercial celebration of romance and love in many regions of the world. Valentine's Day, although non-native to Nepal, has become an important annual event among youngsters in recent years. The Day of Love is taken as an event where people earnestly express their love and affection for another person. Moving on, 7 months of the current fiscal year has passed. However, the government spending has remained dismal amid the leadership's incompetence and the regulatory body's lack of accountability. The government's development expenditure so far has been limited to 17%, and the government has spent only 15% of its budget on national pride projects. This shows that the political and administrative leadership has largely remained indifferent towards the country's overall development. The government had allocated 380 billion rupees for development expenditure for the ongoing fiscal year. The government, however, decreased 69 billion rupees in its mid-term review amid failure to utilize the development budget. Furthermore, the government has downsized foreign loan, projecting that the authorities would not be able to meet the expenditure target. According to Ministry of Finance, the development expenditure has been limited to 66 billion rupees as of yesterday, which is 17.43% of the budget allocated by the government. The trend of failing to utilize the allocated budget has continued as political leadership has remained busy with power politics, while administrative leadership has remained indifferent towards it. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal had failed to abide by his pledge to monitor national pride projects. Projects that could generate employment and contribute to the national economy were also incorporated in the National Pride project. However, their works have yet to pick up any pace. 24 national pride projects were allocated 98,976,400,000 rupees. However, only 15.16% of the total budget has been spent so far. The Ministry of Development, in fact, itself has failed to meet its target expenditure. The Ministry of Transport, which was allocated the largest development budget of 51,440,000,000 rupees, has spent only 23.1 billion, which is 15% of its total budget. It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
But before that, let's take a look at the results from yesterday's poll. Yesterday, we asked you what should be done to reduce the cost of production in agriculture. 71% voted for option A, modernize agriculture, 19% for B, group farming, and 10% for C, increase aid. Here's today's question. What do you think of the government decision to ease driving license test? Your options are A, ease license distribution, B, prevention of illegal license distribution, and C, risk of increased accidents. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Let's move on to the international update. Martin Griffiths, the United Nations top aid chief, as he visited victims in the northwestern Syrian city of Aleppo, said the international community must step forward to heal the trauma of last week's devastating earthquakes in Turkey and Syria and provide essential aid to help the millions of people who have been left homeless. Griffiths, UN Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator, concluded a 3-day visit to quake-hit areas in the two countries after the deadly February 6 earthquake, which has claimed more than 35,000 lives overall. After visiting some of the worst affected sites, Griffiths said the level of suffering brought by the disaster has been all too clear to see. and said he hopes to encourage greater support from the global community. Donations and aid supplies have been slowly trickling in, but there is considerable concern surrounding the sheer scale of the humanitarian disaster which lies ahead following the quakes, with the United Nations believing that over 5.3 million people have been displaced across Syria. The Syrian Health Ministry estimates that the earthquakes have killed at least 1,400 people and wounded over 2,300 others in government-controlled areas. Meanwhile, the UN Office for the Coordination of the Humanitarian Affairs said on Monday that the death toll from the quakes in rebel-held areas of northwestern Syria now stood at 4,300, with 7,600 others injured. Welcome back. It's time now for the sports update.
Sports news.
Nepal have secured a 2-wicket win over Namibia in their ICC World Cricket League 2 match played earlier today. In the match played at the Tribhuvan University Cricket Ground in Kantipur, Namibia were put to bat, where they were bowled out for 285 runs in their 50 overs. Michael van Lingen was impressive with the bat as he scored 133 runs, while skipper Gerhard Erasmus added 56. Karan Casey picked 5 wickets while giving away 61 runs in his 10 overs, while Sandeep Lamichhane, who is alleged of raping a minor, had 3 wickets to his name. Sompal Kami and Kushal Malla shared a wicket apiece. In reply, Nepal chased the target in 47.4 overs, losing 8 wickets. Opener Kushal Bhurtel scored a century as he made 115 runs from 113 balls. Skipper Rohit Paudel added 72 runs, while KC clubbed 2 sixes as he remained unbeaten at 20 runs from 12 deliveries. Bhurtel was adjudged the player of the match. Namibia now plays Scotland tomorrow, while Nepal take on Scotland on the 17th of February.
Down the ground, over the boundary for 6 runs. That is Rohit Paudel for you.
I think these overs from the fronts become even more important, and that's going to be 50 for Kushal Bhurtel, one of the biggest cheers of the day. It's his 4th one-day international 50. No huge celebration. That to me indicates he knows opportunity, isn't there? A real chance now for these two. The longer they are there, the longer the tries to repeat the slog sweep. There's a man out there, and it's put down. Well, would you believe it? Massive, massive moment in the game. It's low. Powell goes down the ground, and he goes huge, right into the.
Up next is the weather update. That is all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Good night.